Yo, what's up guys? Still doing the rush video. I didn't rush on stream this time because I was going back from Belgium to the Netherlands, was visiting a friend for a bit. But I definitely did want to show this rush. I started off at around like rank 500-ish in P3. But in this case, it's not going to be a live rush, but I can do a little bit more of like analytical talking of like what am I looking at, why am I skipping certain things, why am I hitting certain things, or why am I hitting certain things and why am I skipping certain things. And it was a pretty crazy rush actually. And the main reason that it was a crazy rush because we had a lot of like ups and downs of going like certain ranks. So this one, it's just a pretty simple, like if I can outspeed anything comfortably, I like to hit it with the Amber and the Nefty's team. However, thing is with the Amber, you kind of have to build a crit damage Amber. Do you want Amber to full kill? Or at least crit rate Amber? And if you go crit rate Amber, it's really bad against Camilla. So Amber Nefty's is kind of in a weird spot at the moment. And we did also see a lot of those Byung-Cho kind of defenses, which I do think is a pretty decent unit on defense because you can't really snipe it out. It does have strips, it does have pretty decent damage. Plus it goes extra damage the moment he's low HP. However, the part of the low HP I haven't seen too much because most of the time you ignore it until the late moment. And when you hit it pretty late, it's not gonna do all too much in the first place. So in this case, I did hit it. And I was like, ooh, that actually does mitigate quite some damage, but Sonya still does way too much damage. Like Sonya the damage was reduced by like probably 40k or so. But that's way more than enough for Sonya to actually still kill, so. Yeah, pretty much still using the same offenses. Offenses are just pretty good. I think the Sonya team is pretty much one of the best offenses I have out there right now. Wouldn't really classify the Nefty's team as one of the best offenses I have at the moment. Nice flip of the screen, because I was doing stuff while outdoing, I guess. So yeah, that's what happens when playing your rush while driving, but I recorded it on the phone, so it still kind of makes it that you can kind of see it, and this was just played on auto for like the most part of it, when I did win some of those matches. So yep, we already into the G1 rank, and yeah, the Tritons, I was kind of afraid, like, will I actually outspeed the Tritons? Tritons do have a higher base speed than I do, so I was like, okay, I'll just try one, and I was like, right away confronted with like, yeah, he has higher base speed, like, your cookie's not gonna outspeed it. I could have put this team on a 33 lead. If you put it towards a 33 lead, you probably will outspeed it, and it should probably be fine. But the cleanup with the Jemaya is just so much better, and I would say if you want to go 33 lead, your best option is probably a Samath. You could go Oliver, but Oliver also kind of slows down things. So for that reason, I really like to keep the Jemaya in, because then you can do ignore defense on all 4 units rather than just on 2. And yeah, so, but it's definitely good if you're running this team to also keep like a 33 lead, at least ruined on a double fight and a shield set as well, same as that the Jemaya is. Just to simply have the options to hit those kind of things as well. And we do see quite a few hits already. I was running the defense of a Vanessa, Camilla, Nigong, and Amduet at the moment. I'm not too sure if Amduet is just doing too well, because Amduet is just a simple thing that is so easily countered by just a pure vanilla cookie. Pure vanilla cookie makes it that you have 4 debuffs. The Amduet is most likely not going to strip anything, so it's just pretty bad, I guess. We did see a few of those Yanghua defenses. I've seen like a few more around there, here and there, but they really don't do too much, I think. This one's actually pretty interesting. Even without the attack buff, I nearly killed that in 1 hit. I would also say that Nora and Camilla are not really units that be able to solo or do anything too much towards a Sonya, so I would say that the double Camilla teams are kind of falling off, because more and more people I see picking up that Bethany team, the Sonya team. Just those units. You have a few like flexible other units you could pick in there, but Bethany and Sonya are probably the best in slots. But yeah, there's a few options out there that you could switch. In this case, for this team, I think I could have better used the Grogan than this, because Grogan is kind of fine into Manon in most places, whereas the Amber is not really going to do that much damage. Like, it's half HP. This is not enough damage. So I would have to maybe think of a better unit that fits better in these situations than a Amber. That could be a thing. You don't have too many units that I really like that do a lot of extra damage AoE on having a lot of debuffs. Like, you could say, like, oh, you could go for like a Kamamir or something like that, but a Kamamir is not going to do too great on any of the fire units. So if there's a finesse in there, it's already kind of bad. So I'm not too sure about that. Might give that a try at some point, but yeah, just not really liking this team that much. It's kind of fine. It does kind of do the job, but it's kind of slow. If they get like 1 or 2 extra turns, it's not that chill as well. So I'd rather just use the Sonya team, and preferably with the double Sonya. Double Sonya is just so much better than Bethany as well. Mainly because they have a better passive, or they have a passive in the first place. Bethany doesn't have the passive. But that passive of a little bit extra survivability and that kind of stuff. So that's just a little bit better. I did also notice that I put too much damage on water at one of the 2 Sonyas that was kind of low on attack in this case. And I started ignored defensing at some point for like a few of those units here and there. So there is a moment later on where I put extra attack increasing effect on the Sonya, which I think is a very important thing. Get those attack increasing effects in. That team with the triple Nyx, like I saw it and I was like, I'm not sure if it's good. Nyx starts in the stone state right now. It could be something that is good, but I was like, I'm so not used to seeing it that I'm just not gonna hit it for that reason. Not that I would necessarily say it's really good, but I just didn't hit it for the reason of saying like, okay, it's new for me, therefore I don't want to hit it. And if you come up with a defense like that, it might even be like a pretty bad defense, but if people are not comfortable hitting it, they're not gonna test that during a rush. Especially not like, if you were to put that team in the last 15 minutes of rush, people are not gonna be hitting that. Like if you put it an hour, like this is still like I think half an hour towards the end of rush or something, at that point people are going to be like, yeah, I can probably give it a chance to hit and then I'll see later if I want to keep farming it or not. But if you put that in the last 10 minutes or so, and sure, it's only gonna work like 1 week and then people are actually used to it, but then it could be pretty nice. And in this case, it's actually pretty interesting where my Bethany did get pushed back and got stripped and got stunned, and then also missed double ignore defense while having 2 buffs. A combination that doesn't work all too much like that too often. But in this case, I still had to kill the Vanessa first, and then after the killing the Vanessa, that's just the beauty of this team. It's very unlikely that you actually lose. Like the only losing potential that you have with this team is pretty much fighting full on invisibility. Like that's what I said last time with the dark, what's it called? Dark Hollyberry Cookie, or also Giselle. That unit is one of the few units that can make this team lose, because at some point you're just having 0 damage output, and as long as you can have some damage output, this is definitely fine. So a super hard counter to this is if you put the Hollyberry Cookie Dark as a very good unit. There was actually someone in the comments saying like, oh, you're crying that it's so OP and blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, I just mentioned it was a good defense. Like apparently that's crying already these days. Well, okay. Is what it is what it is. People on the internet some days. You gotta love it, right? You gotta love it. But that was a pretty interesting one. But I definitely say that Dark Pure Vanilla, or not, why do you keep saying Pure Vanilla Cookie? Dark Hollyberry Cookie or Giselle is the best unit on defense, because it has the most annoying mechanics with perfect AI, and the moment it takes a turn, your match is 9 out of 10 over. Unless you get like a very bruiser-ish style of defense, any speed clear on a Giselle is bound to lose if the Giselle takes 1 turn. And it's pretty much a guaranteed lose. That's actually pretty interesting. Tian Lang has 1, still does enough damage. Tian Lang has 2, does a little less damage. But yeah, especially with the Tian Lang nerf right now, I already claim Tian Lang not as best defense unit anymore, because there's just the Sonya's just made it so much more interesting to outspeed it without actually boosting attack bars. And for that reason, I was like, Tian Lang is not really the greatest of units anymore. So in this case, going for my switch, going in for the second Camilla with the Nigong team, because I felt like my team was not really performing all too well as I hoped. So the Andor that wasn't doing too much. I do know that this team is also kind of bad. Like you could, there's definitely a few ways that you can kill it. I would say all of my defenses aren't that great, but there are options that it might fail if people miss bombs or miss armor breaks or something like that. So I was like, gotta work with what I have. But yeah, I would say that I'm thinking about a different defense that might work better. Might give it a try next week. I'm not gonna say yet what it is, because otherwise people are already preparing against the defense before I even put it there. I definitely did see a lot of those Byung-Jolt defenses like this, and I wasn't necessarily sure if I really like them because in the end, it's still bound to get hit hard by Sonya. That was definitely a thing. Sure, it's not gonna hit as much in the first hit. At this point, I was also kind of like testing, like, what's the best way to approach this? Is it good to like first lower its damage or like lower its HP a bit and then go for a snipe, or just go straight for a snipe? Like, I wasn't too sure about this unit. I haven't had that much experience hitting it, so that's why I also started hitting the Camillas in this case. The second Sonya, of course, doing the most damage. We'll show the runes at the end. But yeah, I was like, okay, is he also going to increase a lot of damage? Because I haven't been that much seeing this unit that much that I would say like, okay, is he gonna increase a lot of damage? Is he gonna be super deadly when he's low HP, like what we used to know from like Fuki and stuff? But in the end, the defenses of Byungjo, I wasn't really too scared of it. So let me know in the comments if you guys maybe saw like the defense once or twice, or did actually see that it was good or not good. This is once again a very easy team for the Grogan. It's still fine to have that Grogan rune up for me. So there's a few hits here and there, which I definitely do still like the Grogan. The Manon could be annoying, but in most cases, Manon is only a 15% check, which makes it that on a Grogan hit, most likely at least 3 units will die, and the Manon will die for sure because she cannot parry on herself. So yeah, that's most of the time not really an issue. There were a lot of those Yanghua defenses. I'm not sure if they actually were good, but I guess they work decently, otherwise people wouldn't be throwing them up. But I would say it's just somewhat countering. No, it's not even countering. The only thing it's actually countering is like a Chiwu kind of style of team, like a Chiwu Escher Leia kind of style of team, or a Nephthys kind of style of team when there's no immunity. But I think not too many people are using that at the moment, so I'm not really sure if these defenses actually did well, or that this was just something that could maybe work. There were pretty decent tanky Camillas, that's definitely true on that part. But yeah, is Yanghua really a good defense? It used to be something that was used a little bit when a lot of people were using Tiana and then another unit to hit. But the thing is, if you go for Galleon, Tiana, and then damage dealers, the Yanghua is not gonna take a move until she's pretty much dead. So yeah, that's where we can see that we got quite some hits in, but we're currently ranked 13, so we're definitely have been climbing pretty fast. There's a few hits in there where I would say like, can I actually hit them or not? I wasn't too sure, so I just was skipping them. And there's also a lot more people on chillings. Wait, was this actually me hitting a guildie? I'm not too sure. Like I was doing most of my hits while my mate was driving and we're just still talking in the car, and then I was just chilling a bit. It's also interesting to see that we have a Clara moving in front of the chilling over here, which actually somewhat counters the sniper. Also, if the sniper doesn't strip, he does a lot less damage. And that makes things just a little bit annoying. And I was like, oh, I'm also fighting a Geldnir here, which is also kind of annoying. Plus, you have the chilling, which in this team is most likely to be hitting the Magnum. So actually for this team, I should look for a unit where I have some kind of support unit on fire. And the support unit on fire will always draw the attention from the chilling, and therefore the Magnum can just freely hit. Because the chilling is most likely not going to be hitting on the Alaya, because Alaya's just way too tanky. And I'm like, am I going to lose this, or am I just going to take like 16 hours to hit this? And someone actually asked in the Discord, like, yo, bro, you're not rushing, you're always rushing. Well, true, I'm always rushing, pretty much. And in this case, well, I was at a drive, so I couldn't really rush at that moment. So I was just doing the rush during like the drive itself. It was an option, it kind of worked out. Interesting thing is that a chilling actually takes the attack buff from Magnum as well. So you kind of don't want a chilling to be hitting on the Magnum the moment that it's doing his, well, just his S1. But yeah, this fight was just taking forever. I was like, I just gotta kill the Geldnir, it's fine. And then at some point I was like, no, I actually have to kill the thing on the left, the Clara, first. And when I kill the Clara, it's actually getting a lot easier because there's just less damage coming in, and the Finging is still hitting a lot, and the Magnum actually hits a lot the moment that there's an armor break. Of course, Geldnir is probably 100 res. Takes a little bit to armor break it, but the moment it's armor broken, and also the moment that you're not using any buffs, and he's just getting his own stack from his own one turn, he's not going to heal all too much. He still heals like a decent amount, but the moment that there's an armor break, he just peel it once and it's dead. So, kind of a long fight, but it was not too bad in the end because we did still win. If I went in with the double Magnum, it would have been pretty dangerous. And we're currently rank 8. So we're top 10 at the moment. So the defense switch definitely did help out to go to double Camilla. And we can see a lot of we had like 4 defense successes that you could see in like one frame. Like I have that habit, which I always do during rush, is every hit I go out, I kind of check my defense, like how my defense is running. Especially if I see my numbers of the ranking going up and down, I definitely do tend to check that. So in this case, Triton once again did outspeed me, and this is probably also the last Triton that I check on same speeds, or at least same speed lead, and then -5 speed on the pure vanilla cookie. At least I think it's -5. Is Triton 116? I don't even remember. But yeah, most of the time people don't really put super fast runes on the Triton, whereas pure vanilla cookie is on my fastest set right now. I'm not gonna tell what it is, but is it fast set? Yeah, I think it's pretty much fast set. So yeah, for that reason I was like, maybe I can check it. Actually, funny enough, my Sonya still nearly one-shot that Byungchul, which if I did damage on wind, I would have definitely one-shot it. And that's also the point where I was like, Byungchul's not that great. But yeah, we got 10 hits in 4 minutes, and we got, I think, like 6 successes. So that's a lot of successes out there. So that's definitely what you like to see for your defense rocking in. But I think at this time there was still like a good half an hour left, which could definitely, still a lot of stuff could happen, and a lot of stuff did happen. That was actually pretty interesting. So we're gonna see how that pans out at some point. This team with the Volantis and a Widget, I don't really classify as good as well. It's just, even if you, well, I would say the Widget is not as bad, but the Widget I would pretty much always pair next to a Chilling, otherwise Widget doesn't feel as strong. And I would say Volantis is not really a too much of a fitting unit for arena defense, unless you put, yeah, I would say like just Diana and that kind of stuff already gives too much issues to it that Volantis wouldn't really do too much, unless you have a very specific team around it that you're maybe using like Nyx and Volantis together, so the dots are staying for longer or something like that. It's pretty nice. So yeah, we're still tending to get a lot of hits in. That's mainly the thing that I noticed. If I don't put any threat of damage in my defense, people tend to hit it a lot more often. And that definitely does also make sense, because if your defense looks scary, people are not going to be hitting it, but people are going to skip it. However, if your defense doesn't look scary at all, but it is actually kind of scary in the sense of people just can't kill it, you tend to get a lot of wins, as I was getting right now, but you tend to also get a lot of hits. And I would say it's better to get a lot of, I would say, yeah, it's better to not get hit than to get a lot of wins. Because a lot of wins is nice, but if people keep hitting you, and they keep hitting you more and more over because they feel like, that was an RG fight, let's hit you again. If they hit you again and they lose again, they only get -5, you get +5, so it's barely worth anything. That's like the anti-boosting mechanic that's in there. So for that reason, people that keep hitting you and keep hitting you, they just wasting their time, but you're not really gaining that much from them. And at some point they're gonna win, and in the end they're still going to net like pretty much the same amount of wins and loses, or the same amount of points won as lost if they are that much lower ranked than you. So yeah, it's actually better to have a defense that's, I would say, towards the end, if people hit you and they're like, this is gonna take too long, I don't want to hit you, a stall team is kind of fine. But the stall team, somewhat midway, which I did right now because it just felt like the other defense was not performing, it is decent-ish, but people are gonna, if they want to take their time to slow clear you, they're gonna take their time to slow clear you, and you're gonna see a lot of hits. So yeah, we see the whole list of 4 minutes right now, so that's 10 hits in 4 minutes. That's already quite some, but let me tell you, you've probably seen it on the thumbnail, at least I think I will put it in the thumbnail. I got a lot more hits than that in 10 minutes at some point. So in this case, there were actually a lot of people that were just guildies or things that are just people that I normally don't hit, so I was hitting somewhat lower. In general, the moment you refresh, you always want to scroll to the bottom and hit the guys from the bottom, because the guys at the top, those are going to be the lower ranked, and at the bottom of your list, those are going to be the guys that are higher ranked. And it's so much more worth to hit guys that are higher ranked, or just people that are higher ranked, doesn't have to be guys, of course, but people that are higher ranked. And I completely misplayed this because you actually have to do the Sonya on the left and the other one on the right because of the passive, of course. Made a lot of sense. I didn't make too much sense, so I just wasted a lot of time on this fight, actually. Wasn't too much of an issue at this moment, but it's still wasting a lot of time, because if Helphas get a slow, I have speed buff and all of my units are rocking like 6 million speed. Alphas is never gonna take a turn. It's good that that Oblivion land. I do also have the pure vanilla cookie on an accuracy 6 for that reason. But yeah, that's just taking a lot of time. But yeah, what was I saying? Not entirely sure. Let's continue on another track. At this time, I was also just checking because I didn't really have like a good clock over here of saying like, okay, what is the time left? And that was kind of annoying. I was like, okay, we're rank 7 right now. Things are going pretty well. Probably got like a few hits as well. I was like, okay, I'll just do this later. And I was misclicking a few things because I also had the recording thing up and whatnot. So, but okay. More of those. I'm not sure if this is the same guy that I hit before with the exact same team, but I think there were like 2 or 3 guys running this team. And I think that this team is I'm really not too sure like what it's supposed to count or how good it's supposed to be, because I would even say that just a straight up bomber team would do pretty good against this. Like the Yanhua's not gonna do anything, and this team would never really win against bombers in the first place as well. And that's also the nice thing about the Sonya team, and a nice thing about teams in general. If you happen to have a team that has a very solid cleanup the moment things go wrong, and this team absolutely has, because the Sonya doesn't tend to die, the pure vanilla cookie can throw the Oblivion, can heal a little bit. There's just so many mechanics in there in that team where I would say it's just nice to hit it with, because even if things go wrong, you can most likely win. Like the only losing factor is if my damage output is absolutely nullified by 2-turn invisibility. That's pretty much the only thing that I've seen this team actually lose against so far. Of course, I also mostly bring this team when I do expect to win. I'm not going to throw this at stuff that I'm like, not sure if this wins, but let's go. Like in general takes, I kind of like to take my hits safely. But yeah, this team is just so nice for the cleanup. And if you don't specifically have those units, try to find a team for you that is like, okay, it's fast to clear, but it still has that cleanup of clearing. That's even if things go wrong, you can still always win. And that's the main thing for this team. Like against those Camillas, no way I'll lose. If you bring a bomber team and you have a bomber team in a certain situation where it would be nice. Look at this. Wait. My bottom of the list is 1 minute. My whole list is 1 minute. That is new for me. I did get a few wins on that, but I was like, yo, bro, wait, what? I dropped like freaking 40 points going into one match, and that one match was fast. I was like, wait, what? I was kind of confused at this moment. I also told my mate, like, I got kind of flabbergasted by that for a second. And I also was like slightly confused, like, okay, what should I hit? How should I hit? Kind of stuff. But this is definitely one of those easy hits. But I was like, wait, 1 minute for the whole thing? But I'm still G2, so it's not that bad. Well, let me tell you, it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get a whole bunch worse. And I thought it actually was 1 minute on the whole list when it got a lot worse. But apparently it was at this point already quite a bit worse. Yeah, that's definitely something. So in this case, I went in from that Samath, which I talked about earlier, like getting in that Samath to make sure that it outspeed on the Sonya team, and the Pure Vanilla Cookie at least outspeeds. That is definitely a nice thing to keep in there. I would still recommend it when you can use Jemire. It's just by far the best speed lead for this whole situation. But if you need the speed lead to outspeed, then I would say Samath is probably the best option. So in this case, we have the whole list being 1 minute right now. And we did see like one guy hitting multiple times, losing multiple times, and then still going in for different hits. So in this case, I was like, probably I have to go for another switch. So I switched back to the team which I did with the Seimei before. For some reason, I like to have the Camillas in the middle. Doesn't make any sense, but I was like, okay, so we have the whole list being 2 minutes. That's not great. At least we did get a few successes. Because of the few successes that we had out there, I maybe didn't have to switch. But I was like, okay, people are probably too used to this team, and therefore they're just seeing it and they don't want to hit it, probably with a bomber team or something like that. It's definitely bomber food, it is. But if things go slightly wrong or your bombers don't do enough damage, which is possible, these things are somewhat tanky, then it is kind of doable-ish for me to get victories in. However, if things go kind of right to their side, which is more likely going to happen than right from my side, because I'm praying on like 15 checks and they're praying on 85 checks, you do the odds. But yeah, at that point I was like, too many people are hitting me, I gotta have to switch, because otherwise things go bad. So Did went for the switch over there, and let's see how that switch works out. It's always good if you're bowling an arena defense to have a switch. So the moment you feel like, okay, I'm getting hit way too much, you gotta do that switch. And wait, look at this. I got another list of 2 minutes, and I dropped to rank 1,000. I went in being ranked like 40, 50-ish, and I got out of the match with another full list of 0 minutes, and I ranked 1,000. And I'm like, bro, I got like, what, 20 minutes left on the clock? And what? Like, I dropped to P1. That was like, what? How does this work? What's happening over here? So I was like, okay, this rush is probably gonna go real bad, real hard right now. This didn't happen to me that much. Like, I have been hit, like, I would say 10 times in 2 minutes before, but that happening multiple times in a rush and then dropping that many points, that's kind of new. And that's also something that normally happens when you have the hard reset. On the hard reset, all of the points go back to like 1350. So you have 1 week of hard reset, 1 week of soft reset, right? And at the hard reset, everyone is like at 1350. And at that point, the points, especially in the higher ranks, are really close to one another. And because of the points being that close to one another, I actually felt like that would happen at that moment. But the Interserver rush is always at the even, like it's always at the same week, where it's always just have been the soft reset. So this was a soft reset. This normally does not happen at soft reset. At least I've been rushing for, I think I've been getting G3 for at least 6 years right now. This has never happened to me in a soft reset week that I got that much like clapped on. Like people clapped my ass real bad on that one. I actually got pretty lucky on this one. If the what's it called, the Zen had different messing up for turn orders, which he didn't really do. I could have lost this fight actually, but at this point I was also kind of just going in for desperation fights, which I was like, if it goes fast, it's nice. I want fast hits. You did also see me hover over defense once again, where I was thinking like, okay, should I remove the Seimei back for the Vanessa? The reason that I actually didn't do it is because I felt like that the people that were probably hitting me were still on the defense, which was the Vanessa actually, because it's very easy to slow hit me and very safe slow hit me because there was not that much damage threat in a double Camilla Vanessa with a Nigong. So for that reason, I was like, okay, if I switch back to that defense, I think a lot of people were slow hitting me, whereas you could slow hit the team with the Seimei as well. It's absolutely possible. Like if you want to go like Mo long Bolvric kind of stuff and take like 5 minutes, it's absolutely doable. However, the big issue is that it's gonna take you a long time. And because of that taking that much long time, I actually felt like probably the people that did hit me did hit my Vanessa defense and not the Seimei defense. So I'm gonna give my Seimei defense a little bit of extra try to see if it was just going bad for a moment. Because in the end, a Nigong Seimei is a lot more rare, that people don't really know if they can hit it, and if they never tried, they probably are more likely to skip it. And for that reason, that sole reason, that I don't even think it's a better defense, but I think it's like a more skippable defense. I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep that defense. I'm just gonna farm my way up. I hit only the people at the bottom as much as possible, because you can definitely see like the difference in ranks. Wait. Okay, we're hitting this guy, but I want to show the difference in ranks, especially if you're not in the highest ranks. You can see the jump over here. We're hitting 1844, 1836, and then 1687. That means from this guy, I'm gonna get like 10 points. From this guy, I'm gonna get like 10 points. From this guy, I'm probably gonna get like 6 points, which we did actually go into this fight right now, and I didn't notice it at the moment that I was hitting it. And we're gonna see like how many points I plus from this while being 1800, hitting someone that's 1680 or something. And that's where you know that you're more or less kind of wasting time rather than hitting someone. It's like, sure, if it's a clean hit and you're comfortable hitting this more than the guys higher up, in this case, one of the two guys was a friend of mine. The other thing I didn't want to hit, I think it was something along that line. But yeah, in that case, I was like, okay, then we just hit this. And at the moment that I finished this fight, I was like, wait, that's actually a waste of time. Because it's also somewhat of a fight, like if he starts proccing a lot, he can take like a little bit of time on that Abellio, but that's not a big issue. Like if I win in the end, it's not really that much of an issue. But the issue is like if I can do a long fight for +6 points or +7 points, it's a lot less worthy than going for a fight that's like 8 points. So how many points we got? +7. So +7, yeah, that's not really gonna put anything fast. So that's also where I noticed, like, yo, all of these guys are super low. Wait, did I notice it over here? Or do I still go in on the next fight? No, I still go in on the next fight. And I probably noticed it on this one. I'm like, yo, I'm fighting for +7s. Like, it's more worth to just refresh my list and then try to get, like, a list of people that is actually higher than me to hit. The moment that you hit, I think it's Guardian 1, that's why you only fight people around your ranks and the spread is not that big. But the moment that you're in the Punisher rank, it's still like the big spread of, like, you could hit someone that's way higher or way lower than you. Whereas if you're G1 and up, it's pretty much around like 10 points of your points, and that the whole list is around 10 points of your points, which I would say is a lot more chill and a lot more fair, and I think they should drag that down to further. Like, yeah, this was also +7. Did I notice it over here? No, I was just waiting the time out. So yeah, in that case, we still have a lot more points to climb, and as you can probably see on the timer, we don't have that much time left for all of these hits getting in there. So I was like, okay, I kind of have to go for these kind of hits, because a lot of those Tritons Vanessas, I don't really have the best way to outspeed Triton Vanessa right now. I normally do it with a Kabila and then the Amber team, but wasn't really liking it that much. Also didn't have the fastest set on the Kabila right now, so the Triton teams were a little bit more tricky. I would say that I can kind of comfortably outspeed Tritons when I go 24 lead plus Kabila, but a 33 lead plus a Triton and then trying to outspeed that with my pure vanilla cookie, I don't really feel that comfortable with. Like, I'm okay-ish fast, but I'm not that fast. That's kind of the issue I have. So yeah, I was just trying to get as many hits in as possible, trying to get my way back. I'm also like, yeah, it's the Interserver rush. If it was not the Interserver rush, and I was just rushing in the car, I would have probably been like, yeah, whatever, I just call it a day. I would just stop. Bad rush, can happen, whatever, next time. But in this case, I'm like, yo, it also cares about my Interserver rank. I want to get at least top or team 4. And if you're team 4, you get the same amount of points as like team 1 for like a victory. Or actually, if you want to get Interserver ranks and points the most, team 4 is actually the best team to be in. And that is mainly because you get the same amount of points, but your fights are going to be easier than team 1. So that's, and you probably have more chance of getting defense successes in team 4 than in a team 1 as well. But it's very hard to aim for, like, okay, I need to be between rank 75 and rank 100 to get team 4. Aiming for that is pretty impossible. So I just always aim for the highest rank. And if that's team 1, it's team 1. If it's 2, 3, 4, doesn't matter as long as it's not 5 or plus. That's kind of the aim that I was aiming for. So I was like, I'm just going to do my best, keep rushing on until I get the highest rank possible, and then just see how it goes over there. And from what I've noticed already, like the moment I switched, and I actually kept it switch of the Seimei, switch made it that I was getting fewer and fewer hits. So that was always the nice thing. Like, so it's not necessarily there to put your best defense out there. It kind of has to be your scariest defense out there. I actually went in for this hit. I'm like, oh, this is super food, and then I super misplay it. And I'm like, okay, I waste a lot of time on this one as well. And that's not a good timing to waste a lot of time on this. In this case, I should have actually hit the Ariel, because Ariel S2 has defense buff. And S2 defense buff would make it. Also, I misclicked here that I don't have my skills back up. Otherwise, I would have killed on these 2 hits. But yeah, I missed that skill. And then the turn order is wrong, where the Jemire moves in front. Or after, actually, the Pure Vanilla moves after, and then I go for this hit, but I have attack increasing effect, and then crit damage and crit rate on the unit, so they don't have high attack by themselves, so it doesn't ignore defense. And I'm like, okay, well, then we can just do it like that, and then now it has defense buff, and then you're definitely not gonna hit it. And the Pure Vanilla Cookie was getting stunned all the time, which was also not helping. I'm like, bro, I'm trying to get my hits in fast. So yeah, finally getting this skill in. And then we can finally go for those snipes, you might think. So snipe over there, that's fine. This one I was like, I probably have to wait one more turn because of that defense buff. I don't really feel that comfortable that I could actually hit it in one go. And then I should have waited one more turn. It was so freaking slow that I started lapping it, but now I don't have skills up. I'm wasting even more time. Ah! So yeah, at least the S1 damage is also pretty good. At least they do like 9Ks as well or something like that. So it's at least a little bit. But I was like, yo, I'm wasting way too much time. But we see that we're getting a bunch of less hits. It's just like a hit a minute, I can totally deal with. Like 10 hits in 10 minutes, easy, not a problem whatsoever. If it goes towards like 4 hits or 4 minutes for 10 hits or 3 minutes for 10 hits, that's where it gets tricky. If it's like 1 minute, then I have like an issue and I drop a lot. Because in the end, I can, like on average, I can do about a minute per hit as well. Like including loading screens and everything. I pretty much average about, if I do an hour of rush, and in this case I did 45 minutes, I can do about a 60 hits. Where, yeah, I think I average kind of 60 hits. And 60 hits, people were like, oh, I can clear things in 15 seconds. Yeah, you can clear things in 15 seconds if you're already in the battle. I include like 1 minute per hit is finding the target, selecting the right team, loading screens both before and after, and that is, the whole thing is a minute. And also including some, like the average is going up because some teams go wrong and that kind of stuff. So an average of, if you get like a minute per hit average, including like loading screens and everything, you're doing pretty good. Like I definitely can tell you that. If you get faster than that, you're either very fast at selecting your teams or you can just hit the whole list. Because that's also a big factor. If I'm able to hit literally everything on the list, I can be going into matches a lot faster than me having to search for matches. And sure, you could say like, oh, but my team clears in like 10 seconds. Yeah, cool that your team clears in 10 seconds. But if you have to, every time that you go through the list, have to go through the whole list, refresh the list, and then go through half of the list again to find your 15 seconds team, I can clear faster with a 30 seconds team because you are searching a lot. And that is also the thing with arena offense. If you have multiple offense, like a lot of people are saying like, oh, I just need a good defense. My offense is fine. I got one offense. I can clear this and this very specifically. And then I would clear it very fast. Let's say you have like one Hanwoo offense with a Leo. Like that's your only offense. And you're like, yeah, I can clear in like 10 seconds. Just Galen has to land and we're like GG. Super easy. Definitely true. But the issue is if you find your list and there's all kinds of things with like Tritons or whatever that, or just too tanky that your Humble doesn't do enough damage, or just any example, doesn't really matter which team it is. If you're only using one team and you're actually searching, spending a lot of time searching for your next hit, it is better to just have some slower-ish hits, but therefore you can just go into the fight, go into the fight, go into the fight, go into the fight all the time. It's definitely going to be a lot faster than just going like straight on, like, okay, I just can hit this one thing and I have to go through the list again and again and again. And for some reason, we got back to rank 15. We literally went rank 1,000 at some point, and now we're back at rank 15. And I was like, I'm really not sure what's happening this rush. This rush was really crazy. In the end, happy that I still pushed on. This is just a few minutes left on the rush. I think I have one more hit after this. But yeah, that was something that was really insane. I was also like, yeah, this Juno's not really gonna do anything. Even if it strips and puts a lot of, what's it called, debuffs on me, I don't really care. Like, in the end, it's not really gonna do too much, and you can kind of just hit it with an S2 as well if you land it, it's fine. If I didn't land it, I think it would have still nearly been dead anyway, so that's not too much of an issue, and there wouldn't be too much healing, and against Moors there, you can definitely clean those up pretty easily as well. So yeah, we climbed all the way back, like pretty much 80, 90 points, which is quite a lot to be climbing up that fast. So definitely a lot of hits with those Tritons, which I don't really have a team against right now. I should definitely put something on for next week where I can easily hit those Tritons. I definitely do have an idea behind that already to be able to hit those Tritons a lot easier. Because I definitely noticed I'm just skipping too many Triton defenses. And if I'm skipping all of the Triton defenses, it definitely does mean that I'm having that issue where I would have to skip too many teams at the moment. And Tritons in the end are just really not that difficult to hit. But you just have to have something ruined up. Like, it's the same thing like, oh, like a lot of people are telling me, it's like, oh, you're skipping all of those Leos. Those Leos are so easy to hit. Yeah, if you have the right team ruined up, it's definitely easy to hit. However, I feel like I don't really see too many Leos to where it's useful enough for me to actually build a team against it all the time to actually get those hits in to say like, okay, it's nice. Plus, Leo is very trapable kind of thing. Like if I build a Leo one, like I did the Leo fight in the last thing that I did, it was very much where I would say like, okay, you could try to hit it, my Leo, but you are very bound to failing as well. So for that reason, I was like, I don't really think that I like the... Yeah, I don't really like hitting those Leo things too much. So for that reason, I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. In this case, also, some people might say like, hey, hitting that Acroma might be tricky if it like anti-crits and that kind of stuff. I do notice that if you have 2 chances to crit it, that you're most likely gonna crit it. So it's not really that big a deal in the first place. But yeah, in this case, we definitely did make a very nice climb up in the end. And that's also the main reason that I was happy that I actually, first of all, recorded this rush. That there was just a lot of things going not my way and then later going my way, I guess. The defense switch was definitely nice. But that's also a good thing for you guys to learn, that if you immediately switch your or like the moment that you switch your defense, it might not immediately be that your defense is like, if you see like a whole bunch of people still hitting you after that defense switch, it might still be that they're in their in that previous defense of yours, especially if it's like a slower kind of thing to hit defense. It might be that they're in the previous hit rather than hitting your new one already. In this case, I should have used the S2 on the left one first, but didn't go for it. But in the end, doesn't really matter too much. I think this one is out of time, or this one is still in time. Not entirely sure. I had one that was out of time. Okay, so this one is still in time. And I think the next one was out of time. And suddenly I got, well, pretty much the match showed that it was at 1912. And then I got out and it was at 1897 or some stuff. So I did drop another 2 fights at that moment, that being hit at the last moment. But we're still rocking around like top 15. So that's definitely nice. I also love it if those Sonya or those Camillas just die in one hit. Absolutely love that. Like, it's just very nice to see when that happens. So yeah, we can clean those up, and then this one, if it goes as 1, it's fine. If it goes as 2, it's also totally fine. And I think I'm out of time on this one, or is this my final hit in here? Let's see what's this. Oh no, this one was still in as well. I kind of feel like the rush already ended at this point. So yeah, we see a bunch more hits at like 1 minute. So that's like whole list at like 4 minutes-ish, which I'm like, okay, that's the moment I get high enough, people definitely tend to start hitting it again, where I'm like, okay, that could be a little bit more tricky. I also started noticing that I recognize some names that I'm like, okay, I can click on those, keep going in all the time, and then checking like, oh, I can't hit those. Yeah, I already checked that 6 times by now. Like, it's better to start remembering them. I also start seeing a lot of people putting the dots in the chat already, so that probably means time, and they're just checking their ranks based on that. So in the end, this one is the one that didn't count. Definitely would have to build something anti the Triton defenses. And I would have to build something better for my own defense. So in this case, I also put my dot in there and we check the rank. And the rank is G3. I actually ended up in rank 14. So yeah, I dropped down to like, I thought for a second I dropped like 580. And then later I was like, no, I dropped like 750, I think I wrote. But I actually dropped down to 1,000. And then I climbed back up. Really insane. So then showing a little bit of my offenses, the only one that I actually used was like the Sonya team. I used the Grogan and the Amber quite a bit as well, but the Sonya team in this case, the first Sonya is quite high on attack, that second Sonya was quite low on attack. And I think it maybe happened before I started recording that this was actually doing too little damage because I didn't have an attack increasing artifact on it on the left side, but more of a damage water artifact on the left side. But this is definitely a pretty nice set, but it's somewhat on edge for like, do you have enough attack or not? So mainly just using those two. I also use the Bethany a lot. Bethany actually has the better set between the 3 because she has to be able to kill Vanessas. That's the main thing about it. And then we had the Amber. Amber in this case I actually made a little bit slower because I noticed that technically with Kabila and Tiana you only need like an Amber that's like 240 or 230 even. So you don't really need that fast of an Amber. So it's like I might just add like a lot more stats in attack and additional damage stats and then additional damage artifacts on like attack speed and defense and that kind of stuff. But in the end, I still felt like her damage was pretty weak. Like her damage gets decent the moment you add in like 100 crit rate. But then she becomes very bad against Camilla. So still kind of not sure what I want to do with that. But I do have some ideas of how I want to do it. And that is also the end of the rush. So definitely a different style of rushing. I was a lot more able to explain my rush here rather than me doing the rush, because if I'm doing the rush, sure, I can multitask quite good in it, but I can't really explain my thoughts while doing the rush, and this video actually allowed me to give a lot of my thoughts during the rush. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you as always in the next one, and hope that you got your rank that you wanted for the Interserver rush. See you, boys. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab, which has the dungeon guide archive and the video guide archive, which contains all of the guides that you need. Hope to see you there.